One of the beautiful things that we find in Torah is, especially when you learn it in Hebrew, is the different methods that are used to convey ideas. You know, there's a concept called pardes. Pardes translates to a word called orchard, which represents a multi-dimensional way that the Torah works. You have 4 different ways of explaining a Torah verse, and then of course they combine in different ways to come up with multiple ideas on a verse. In addition, the Torah, in very rare cases, changes the size of letters. There are regular sized letters, then there are what we call oversized letters, and then small letters. And these are also part of the divine communication of Torah. It's not, it sticks out very much. So when we get to this week's Parsha, in a real Sefer Torah, and of course most books show you what's in the Sefer Torah, the word Vayikra, which is the name of this week's Parsha, which means, and he called, this is when God called out to Moshe to bring him close and give over different information. So the word Vayikra is written with a small Aleph at the end of the word. And now the rabbis explain to us the backstory behind this unique small Aleph. They tell us that there was a conversation between God and Moshe, where God dictated, we know that God dictated the 5 books that we call Chumash, so that was all dictated from God to Moshe. When we got up to this pasuk, this verse, when God dictated this verse to Moshe, so Moshe felt uncomfortable writing the word Vayikra, which tells us that God called to Moshe. Now, the problem he had with the word Vayikra is it's a very special word. The word Vayikra itself implies endearment, affection, a close relationship, a chashivut, an intrinsic value in Moshe. Now, we know that Moshe is the most humble person that ever lived. Anav mikol adam. So, being so humble, he did not feel comfortable writing a word that gave himself such an important status, that God called to Moshe with this expression of love and care and concern. That was too much for him, so he objected. He did not want to write the word Vayikra. He said, let me write instead the word Vayikar. The word Vayikar means more of just God happened upon him. It just, nothing specific, nothing special, just like when you bump into somebody in the street. It would indicate a less importance in Moshe, like a means to an end. For example, when you send a letter to somebody, you don't really care who's delivering the letter. You go to the post office, you get the letter, and you don't care which mailman is delivering the letter. He's just there to deliver a message. In order to point out this objection and dialogue between Moshe and Hashem said, okay, listen, we'll write the word Vayikra, but we'll write it smaller to point out your objection. Now, what do we learn from this interesting story? You do not win an argument with Hashem, which you would have thought Moshe should have understood. So, because what happens now? Moshe was humble. He didn't want to write Vayikra, so he objected. In the end, Hashem said, okay, I hear your objection, so instead write Vayikra with a small Aleph. Now, when everyone reads the Chumash, they come across this small Aleph and they're confused. Why is this Aleph small? We're taught then by the rabbis why the Aleph is small. Why? Because Moshe was so humble. So his humility in not wanting to write Vayikra becomes a catalyst to us learning about his great humility. So it worked against his ultimate purpose. This becomes the place where it's emphasized how great Moshe was because he was so humble.